Hello, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the lactic acid metabolism. So, homeostasis we will also learn, and what is the lactic acid production, how it's produced, and all things. And homeostasis, homeostasis means the maintenance of internal body with the fluctuation of external environment. So, the physiology maintenance. So this is the person which that is running and the exercise or running which that will lead to muscle contraction and produce ATP for the relaxation and contraction. So the contraction relaxation required ATP. So this ATP whenever you will run so require more ATP but you will breathe limited. So when breathing will limited the oxygen will not provide in the blood. So in this way the blood which that low oxygen level is known as the hypoxemia, and this glut channel 4 will enter the glucose will enter into the cell. The glycogenolysis also produce the glucose, and this will convert into the pyruvate. The anaerobic respiration result will lead to produce 2 ATP and lactic acid. Further anaerobic respiration, the fermentation, lactic acid fermentation will lead to produce more lactic acid go into the blood circulatory system due to the hypoxia, and this also produce more ATP but the low level of oxygen and to less aerobic respiration, and the ATP will decrease. Anyhow, on the other hand, the lactic acid will enter into the liver, the gluconeogenesis to produce glucose, and this glucose will again enter into the blood circulatory system for clearance of the lactic acid. So remember that things. The gluconeogenesis will clear from the liver. And lactic acid also produce the lipid synthesis and cholesterol synthesis. We will discuss later in this video. So remember, this lactate will enter through MCT channel, and the lactate will enter and the lactyl CoA formation. But the lactate will also convert into the pyruvate again through lactic acid dehydrogenase enzyme, and in this way the clear of the lactic acid rapidly. So remember that things basically it is not harmful because it is reversible. On the other hand, to produce ATP, while the pyruvate which that again convert lactyl CoA will lead to histone lactylation. P300 protein trigger while the histone deacetylation will inhibit it, while this ARG1 and other protein will expression of genes to produce mitochondria as well as other things which that is able to again running adaptation like the fast twitch muscle development. So remember that things for sprinting. So here is the gluconeogenesis to produce glucose from the pyruvate, while the pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme lead to produce acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA in the Krebs cycle to produce the lipid synthesis from the citrate and the cholesterol synthesis from the acetyl CoA also. So basically glutamine, which that is the glutamine dehydrogenase enzyme to produce alpha ketoglutarate. So that is the Krebs cycle will produce the lipid synthesis in the liver or adipose tissue and cholesterol synthesis as well as produce ATP. Remember that things. It means the lactic acid clearance through multiple direction can be possible. Let's understand about the again bigger picture of the cell and how lactate will interact. Hypoxia, exercise, infection, metabolic disturbance which that will lead to produce lactate. This lactate will enter into the blood circulatory system, and in this way basically the lactate can be entered to another cell, and this fatigue, the muscle fatigue will be occur due to the detachment of the actin and myosin bridge will be impossible due to the less ATP present in our body. So that is why. Anyhow, this is the channel, this is the lactate, the MCT channel which that enter the lactate, and in this way. On the other hand, the GPR, the G-coupled protein receptor 81 required to lactate bind will lead to anti-annihilate cyclase enzyme activity, lead to ATP to convert into cyclic AMP, while the lactate when enter into the cytoplasm also trigger the G-coupled protein receptor, while the lactate, basically the glucose, which that enter through GLUT channel, and the glycolysis will occur. This glycolysis will inhibit the lactate. Lactate inhibit the glycolysis. On the other hand, the hypoxia-induced factor HIF-1 alpha trigger via PHT2, but it inhibit through lactate because the hypoxia-induced factor, which that HIF-1 alpha, which that is important for the adaptation and the hypoxia response, and in this way the cancer progression as well as the angiogenesis for providing more oxygen. So remember that things, and in this way the cancer causing gene activation and cancer progression will occur due to the hypoxia induced factor. In this way, here is the insulin will trigger the PI3K, AKT, and PDE38 to trigger more glucose influx, while on the other hand, the NADH will increase due to the glycolysis, and this basically inhibit via lactate, but when the glycolysis will trigger more produce the NADH2 will lead to epithelial cell energy regulation and redox state reduction, and in this the oxidative phosphorylation will occur in the mitochondria, will lead to epithelial cell and macrophage function and cardiac fibrocyte, the fatty acid synthesis and gene expression in the T cell and the tumor cell, which that will lead to activate, and in this way the cancer progression, and the basically is the this is the NADH when increase. So in this way the gene expression will increase, but remember that thing, the hypoxia induced factor is important, but it inhibits the lactate. So in this way the cancer will inhibit through that the minor level of the lactate. I hope you make sense about that. If normal lactic acid metabolism will occur, not any problem, so it will clear easily. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. For this one, bye.